So we launched a website. We were the first guys in those days to create a website within Dell, launched it and hosted it for Dell and to manage these technical call volumes on wireless. My favorite thing is what's in it for me. You will always ask what's in it for me, how do I look at that content. So it's very important that we differentiate content between a decision maker and a tech audience. That's very important. Two different content pieces, because there is always an influencer or the primary buyer. The buyer gets influenced by the tech guy saying this works, this doesn't work. So the differentiation of content has to be done. Then I'm also customizing the content, saying, okay, where do you want to go next? So what are the benefits you will get from IBM's partnership? And here is the proof of the pudding. So you show something. Because if you see from whatever I just said, you will also see that the content will start varying, because I'll say what we started could be a traditional banner, but what he might use in the use case could be a small snackable video, to what he might be using in the end of the journey could be a demo or something different, because the audience behaviors are different. As the value of the product goes high to low, the people of decisions tree changes. Before we preach people saying we are good, we want to show them we are using it. We are good at it and our data is done by AI.
Hello and welcome to the HT Brand Leadership Series, a series of one-on-one interactions with top brand and marketing leaders who share their industry insights and strategies that have helped shape their stories. This series, hosted by Hindustan Times, offers a behind-the-scenes look at how leaders adjust their strategies for changing consumer behavior while leveraging media channels that improve customer relationships. Today, we are joined by Achanta Sriram, an IBMer trying to make the planet smarter, seasoned digital expert. Thank you so much for joining us. With over 19 years of experience, currently serving as the APAC media leader at IBM. Renowned for his data-driven strategies, Sriram specializes in executing impactful digital campaigns that optimize customer journeys and enhance brand visibility. At IBM, he leads paid media efforts across the APAC region, devising strategies, managing search teams, and collaborating with premium publishers to drive results. His sharp analytical acumen has been instrumental in refining campaigns, enhancing lead generation, and powering IBM's growth trajectory across diverse markets. Before joining IBM, Sriram spent nearly 8 years at Dell and further solidified his expertise in digital marketing and media planning. I said Dell earlier, but I would like to go back a little more and talk about your formative years as a student, probably just before job. What was it like? Were you a technophile, a qualified technophile right at that time?
Yeah, Abhishek. So that's when first the inception of computers came in. So every kid was fascinated to own a computer. So I would say I'm proud owner to have burnt a computer which I got gifted from my father. So I was very intuitive to understand how a processor works. So the day he gifted me a computer, I ripped it apart to see what a processor is and all that. Burnt it successfully, but yeah, got it. But yeah, I learned tech in the hard way. And then it got nurtured more when I joined my engineering, and then I see people assembling systems. So that's my first venture. Before getting a corporate job, I was doing systems. I used to assemble systems, send it to my clients through the night buses and get it. So that's where my first thing. And then after that, after passing college and coming out, 2002, I got to join Dell. And then the journey with the corporate started. And it's been quite some time with Dell. I've been a decade plus with Dell, now with IBM. And yes, the journey continues like that.
There's one similarity between you and Rajan Anandan. Both of you all worked very closely with Michael Dell. You said that he has been an influencing factor. Rajan also claims the same. Can you just give us a few nuances about that?
Just before to say why I met Michael Dell, so I'll let you give me a little bit of background. So we were in Dell, and that's the time when it was in 2004. Wireless started out. So everybody was curious saying, what is wireless? And we were a set of guys who were sitting in Bangalore and designing the troubleshooting of how a wireless problem comes in. And that time you had multiple OSs from Microsoft, and we wanted to ensure that the customers in Dell had a proper answer to a wireless technical question. We did it and we did that, and then we realizing, okay, it's becoming a big thing to keep the repository and we can't keep notes. So then we submitted an idea to Dell. And then Michael and his leadership team approved it and said, okay, let's launch. So we launched a website. We were the first guys in those days to create a website within Dell, launched it and hosted it for Dell and to manage these technical call volumes on wireless. So each call on a wireless used to go in for 20-25 minutes in those days. with the kind of solution what we launched and presented to Dell, it came down to 7 to 10 minutes. What a 24 minutes call was, came down to 7 to 10 minutes because people were able to see the visualizations on the site. They know where to go, what to do, and it was ease for them. So because of that project, we were presented as the best guys in India. So when Michael visited India in that period of time, we had an opportunity to meet Michael and have dinner with Michael, and that was the first time everybody said it's a great guy whom you need to meet, make the most. When we spoke with him, we saw the vision which he really looked in creating Dell. And as a kid at that time, I said, okay, Michael, if we want to grow in this company, what to do? The way he answered us, he said, okay, this is the kind of effort, this is the kind of commitment I look at from you, so that then that's 1% of commitment which I will give it back to you to grow within the company. So that inspired us, saying how much effort and commitment we need to give to our work to grow in this competitive industry. And that mantra actually pushed me everywhere. And you need to survive. So my favorite quote is always the survival of the fittest. This world is where competition has been really cutthroat. So you need to keep yourself updated, grow within the market and survive. And Michael helped me to live that dream. So I thank him for that.
Awesome. So you started with Dell and then you've spent over 12 years with IBM now. It's been a pretty long stint, keeping in mind that how the tech industry has evolved. How have you seen the marketing landscape transform? Obviously, there's a lot of incidents have happened. We've been through COVID and so much. But what are the key shifts that have shaped you? How do you approach marketing now?
In the olden days, sorry to say olden days, but that's the fact, the marketing has evolved to that, is in the olden days when we approach marketing, we used to approach it in a single silo. We used to approach the client in a silo touch point and say, okay, we need to sell this particular solution. This is the person, let's go and sell it. That's all. That's a straightforward marketing campaigns everybody were designing and we're doing. But as the time evolved, it's been a decade and more, digital platforms have evolved. The entire marketing spectrum has evolved. People now don't consume content in the way they used to consume content at that period of time. And very importantly, the biggest factor which changed all of us is data. Those days we had a limited scale of data availability to make decisions, but today we come to a point where we say decision with data. And we take most of our decisions with data, saying that is this working, is this not working, what is the context. And also we have come to a point where saying don't go to the client with a single pitch, but look at a narrative, look at a storytelling. Yes. What is he looking for? So marketing also has evolved to the point where we're talking to single clients. Now we talk about value propositions, we talk about the differentiations, what is he going at, what's in it for him. That's something we are now being clearly calling out. And last but not the least, we are also finding out where is he, what is his digital footprint, and are we present on it. So that's the journey I've seen in marketing, and it is tremendous from the last decade and more till now.
It's very interesting you use the word digital footprint, because if we look at India as a market and Asia or globally as a market, India is as fragmented. Every 20 kilometers or every 100 kilometers, the choice of color changes, the language changes. And when you look at your current position where you're looking at managing teams across Asian markets, do you draw any parallels, or do you see challenges like the way you would probably look at handling an Indian market with different preferences? Are you able to borrow those learnings and apply it to the diverse markets that you're managing right now?
Yes, it is different. So let's start. It's not an easy task. Let's be practical, because the important factor for me in all of this is just not a marketing plan. The person who actually differentiates this is the people. Because the people are different in each of these countries. As you rightly said, within India, we have so many diverse segments of people. You need to ensure that your marketing activity is resonating with them. Okay. So that's very important. So you need to understand the people whom you're going to be looking forward, or in other words, the reason I always love to call them as people is because the audience is more of a technical word, but give that people that factor. So it's more about the feeling, you understand what they want to look at and all that stuff. Second important factor is the maturity level. Each market in Asia has got its own maturity level trends. So if you cannot compare India with an Australia, you can't compare an Australia or India with Singapore or any of them to any other. So the maturity levels also change within the in this geo of Asia. India changes from Australia, Australia changes from Singapore. And so one important thing which I always keep emphasizing to my team and IBM keeps emphasizing to us is that what works in India doesn't work in Australia. What works in Australia may not work in Singapore, because as I said, maturity levels are different. So we might have to look at the customization of the creative or the messaging which you are taking across. Now that's the easiest thing to do. The toughest thing comes in as also the digital footprint. The reason I say digital footprint all the time is because where do my audiences or where do the people go to interact on these particular topics? Everybody has their own preferences. If you see within India, which is a market of big scale, you see people use different browsers. You might use Google, I might use Bing, somebody might use DuckDuckGo, something. Everybody has their own search engine preferences, and then you have only your browsers like Chrome, Safari, Opera and all that stuff. My problem is the channels are also there, but the channels preferences change. So my media strategy, the investments also vary in each of those markets. So it's always important that we spend most of our time in getting the strategy correct. Once we get the strategy correct and understanding the key audiences and people who are going to interact with this content, what is the kind of content they interact with and where they interact, then once we figure that out, the rest is easy to implement. So that's the thing which has been successful. So we always look at details, and once we get the minute details, it's easy to crack the bigger problem of getting to go to them and show our ads.
So when you talk about the details, if you talk about the B2B marketing aspect in an IT industry specifically, there's a fine balance between technical precision and creative storytelling. How do you approach crafting campaigns and that resonate differently with different decision makers, and also try and break through the complexity of enterprise messaging? Is that something you all think about strongly?
Yes, we think about it, and it's the toughest thing we need to crack, because rightly, as you said, let's take a smaller example today. You are a marketing professional, and let's take you have a guy who's a tech professional within the marketing segment. If I try to give you a content copy, what you read, he will not read. What he reads, you will not read. And at the same time, if I have a common asset or a common content, which I want both of you to read, but each of you will look for a different takeaway.
Yeah, interpretation.
So it's always important. And my favorite thing is, what's in it for me? You will always ask, what's in it for me? How do I look at that content? So it's very important that we differentiate content between a decision maker and a tech audience. That's very important. Two different content pieces, because there is always an influencer or the primary buyer. The buyer gets influenced by the tech guy saying, this works, this doesn't work. So the differentiation of content has to be done, number one. Number two, when we are creating this content, what are we creating the content with? That's very important. Are we covering the pain points? Don't try to use, yes, assuming that everybody is today in the technical world, knows the technical jargon, that's an assumption we go ahead with. But the jargons vary from person to person, but the pain point is a common thing. So the question comes back as, have you captured his pain point? Address the pain point in the creative, because for me, as we both were speaking earlier, we said creative has a very smaller, shorter eye span in this digital world. So I need to be intuitive. I need to capture the movement in a very short time. And can my creative do that? And then, as you rightly said, it also expands into multiple channels. So I need to keep continuing the story. So he needs to know, once you come and do this, what's next? Once he comes and does that, what's next? So we need to plan for the step behind and the step front to ensure that the journey is seamless.
Exactly. You spoke about the time frame and attention. We are basically in the attention economy, and I would want to go back to the creative aspect, because now, since you mentioned it, the media mix comes into play. If you look at the 4 Ps, which is price, product, promotion and place, how do you juggle between these 4 Ps and plan your media mix to determine which is the right blend of channels that will ensure the effectiveness of the creative?
Okay, so it's going to be a typical, the character role play, which I always tell my team is like, assume that when you're getting a campaign, it's just like assume that a patient is coming to a doctor. Capture the minute detail possible, so that helps me to design a seamless campaign, and rightly to say, it also tells me to say which is my media mix. So if the first question we ask, what's the objective of the campaign? Awareness, consideration, awareness, consideration together. So we need to get that clarity saying, is it awareness led? Or is it awareness plus consideration? Or you will say, Sri, it's awareness, consider, and to the later part of the journey we want it. So once we get that clarity, we know what the campaign model is. Second, who are the audiences? We ask that question very clearly, saying, which are the audiences, what are the specific job roles you want to look at, and all of those minute details, because we need to know who they are to find out where they are. So that's very important, from the who to the where.
Where do they reside?
Correct. So once we get to know the who's, then we also go one level down and say, okay, what's the specialization? Which industry? Is it media and entertainment? No, it's retail. No, it's going to be
Pharma.
Industrial, healthcare. Give us the context so that then we get to know, okay, this is the kind of segment. Somebody might come and say cross-industry campaign and all that. So once we know the audience, now we know the job roles you want to look at, and then now we know your objective of the campaign, and also we know all the details. Now sitting down and planning the media mix, because we believe in the mantra called audience first.
Right.
Go where your audiences are. So once we know where our audiences are, it's easy to pluck and pin and say, okay, this is the channel I want to be, this is the budget I want to allocate, and that becomes a clear story for us.
So then that brings me to this aspect of personalization, because in enterprise decision making, people are seeking increasingly high personalization. They want value driven content. And how does IBM utilize paid media to deliver tailored messaging that addresses the specific business pain points that you just spoke about?
You actually gave the answer to me in the question itself, because the word is pain point.
Right.
So when we talk to the guys, when we see for content or creatives, we say, let's not use the jargon, but let's use the point saying, what is the customer pain point we will address with the solution. The moment the storytelling happens, they're saying, what is the problem we will resolve for you? And what will you get from it? Okay, why IBM? Okay, we are the differentiators. We create this differentiation for you. We're going to get this benefit for you. Then the customer believes you. And then the customer wants to know the how factor, saying, can I use it? Can I test it? Where can I do it? So if I capture these key tenets of the messaging, go to the right audiences, then it becomes easy. The story is well knit, because I'm addressing his pain point, but I'm not taking my point of view. I'm coming from his point of view. Then I'm also customizing the content, saying, okay, where do you want to go next? So what are the benefits you will get from IBM's partnership? And here is the proof of the pudding. So you show something, because if you see from whatever I just said, you will also see that the content will start varying, because I'll say what we started could be a traditional banner, but what he might use in the use case could be a small snackable video, to what he might be using in the end of the journey could be a demo or something different, because the audience behaviors are different. So that's the way we would love to go to address the growing demand of content and addressing different client needs.
So it's basically a double click journey that we need to make the customer keep double clicking and make them reach where you want them to reach.
Yes, because as you rightly say, sometimes we want them to where we want them to reach, but sometimes we also need to understand where they are. Yeah. So it could be a linear, it could be a straight journey for you, but for somebody it could be the reverse journey. They might say, I want to see what happens in the end and who used it, and then I'll know what am I going to get from this. So people's journey in digital is never defined. It is radical, because nobody follows a defined journey path.
Let me add a follow-up question, because as you said that customer journeys are becoming non-linear and fragmented. So how does your marketing approach adapt to ensure consistent touch points? Because if you feel that the customers are changing your goalpost all the time, how are you managing effective retargeting, and that too across the buyer journey end of the day?
So as I was just telling you that over the decade, from a single touch point, we have now become a multi-touch point marketing campaigns and all that stuff. So one thing what we realize is, let's take an example here. There's a person who is searching on the web for a particular intent, for a particular pain point, and we show up to him on search. He clicks on it, he comes onto the platform, he looks at the product and details, and he exits. Right. He's taken an action of reading to the content, and then he exits. We don't stop the journey there. How do we go back and retarget him? Because now he's seen something. What is important, what we need to realize is, you don't show him the same thing back.
Correct.
So how do we mature him? So it's very important for IBM or for any tech giant or any person that the customer journey is a multi-touch point journey.
Yes.
Doesn't mean that one action from him says that he is interested to buy. You need to look at that multiple traits of content consumption pattern to say, okay, he is now ready, or this defines the moment that this is the moment that we need to go and talk to him. So yes, it's a multi-touch point, and we look at various touch point centers to ensure that the customer journey is seamless.
That's very well explained. I also want to talk about the various trends that are coming up in paid media, which excite you the most, because that's all linked to innovation, which will be my next question on how you capitalizing on this.
Yeah. So as you rightly said, see, the trends, let's answer the trends. I see trends as quite a growth opportunity in marketing, firstly, because the new buzzword, AI, everybody wants to use AI in their marketing. Everybody wants to. So that's one new buzzword what you hear. Second thing, as I said, you and me would have read a 30 pages white paper to say what was a gist of it. But today's people want snackable, different content pieces which are interactive and gives them the time of thing. And those days, I don't want to complain, but we used to go through a lesser traffic, and today people are stuck in traffic. So they need content formats also. Now we talked about intuitive content or content which they can, but now they need different content formats like audio. They want to have a video or something like that which can go on the go without disrupting their day-to-day work. So these are the kind of advancements we have seen over the different content journeys, and it's very important for us to get that. You can't ignore your client, because always two things we always say, that's old Indian methodology: customer is the king and content is the key. So to unlock the king, you need the content. Yes. So we know where the key is. So how innovative can we have our content, and how innovative can we be on the platforms? Because all these platforms changed also. Abhishek, look at it. When you and me started off, Facebook was a personal site looking to connect people. Twitter was limited to characters to drop news flashes. We had sites which had people to connect each other. But today, all of these platforms also evolved. Traditional Facebook has evolved to become a marketing platform with more information, targeted spectrums and all that. You now have platforms which position video as a powerful channel to interact with clients. So with the evolution on the platforms and with the evolution on the content, it's very important that we also have to ensure that which are the different content pieces we need to consider when we are interacting with clients.
Keeping the various evolution that's happening, obviously IBM has been known for its innovation. How do you keep your team inspired to push boundaries? Because at the end of the day, it's also a lot of push kind of a strategy. So what is the out of the box campaigns that you try and push them for?
Okay, I have a famous saying which I always tell this to my team. We say no 2 days are same in IBM. We keep it close to our hearts, because you keep doing the same traditional work every day, you will not be inspired. So what inspires my team is to come back to office with an eager idea. So as a leader, it's very important for me to create that environment. So one commitment to my team which I do is, my marketing budget for every quarter will have a segment of the money dedicated for innovation, and each of my team member has to present his or her own idea within the team to say, yes, I will take this as innovation. And it's very important for a leader, for me, to encourage my team to take smart risks. You need to take that risk, and you need to make the team comfortable to take it. And when you do it, you see a lot of innovations which come in, good, bad, both. Because always one thing, there's always bad when you have good. So always I tell my team is, take the learnings from the bad. So it tells me how not to fail the next time, and apply it to the good, which will ensure that I really perform well. So there are campaigns where I would say my team has innovated out of the box, saying, okay, how can we do this differently? And how the multi-touch point, rightly you said, right? We did a container campaign which started last year till this year. And we said, okay, is it working, not working? My team was, but we saw that when we go back after multi-touch points, speaking to sales, showing them the effort, what we have put into them, then they came back and said, this works. These are the cream accounts we wanted to go behind. These are easy conversions. So the team gets motivated to do those campaigns. When somebody, it's always important that the others, external world also acknowledge that. So when that happens, it's purely going to be simple, good campaigns which are good to work. So yeah, that's the way we move it.
They are quite eye-catching, and it's pretty interesting that you mentioned AI, and IBM already has a significant market share in AI, and that brings me to what's next. So I'm going to ask you, how is the IBM Watson X ability to deploy AI across diverse environments, whether it's cloud, edge, hybrid, how is it shaping your marketing strategy? You can give me a small synopsis if you don't want to divulge too much.
Yeah, so as you said, AI has been a buzzword for quite some time. So before launching into AI, let's say it's been there for quite some time. And if whenever somebody said AI, we would have come as the forefathers because we had Watson, which was a time when chess players got to play with it and all of that stuff. So we created it long time back, but we stopped it there. But then with the growth in the market and the need for AI to come into the market, IBM also had to evolve its solutions. So it started playing the point saying how AI can streamline the application side of it, how AI can play a pivotal role onto the data side of it. Right. And at a point of time, IBM also went to the point and said how AI can create a governance against the kind of data you have. Right. So that's the reason why you would have seen we launched the Responsible AI campaign this year, where we spoke about how AI has to be responsible when you're governing your data, your client's data, so the campaigns are evolving, and yes, it's all going to come into marketing. So we're going to get in the bots and the agents to come in, and we have a sneak peek that we started our own creatives using AI with different tones and mentalities, and say, okay, now as I said, you can create creatives which were traditionally in our days of time, we say 3 to 4 days. Now it's 3 hours. So the point is not creating creatives in 3 hours, but what is the tone and reality you would need to use on those creatives, what works in the market. So when we try to understand that, yes, the spectrum is there, the horizon is seen that AI will explore more further, and it's shaping up the future. So we need to watch out that space a little more.
Is it safe to say now a CMO is probably morphing into a chief MarTech officer? Is that a safe statement to make today, looking at how much data and AI will be utilized?
A CMO wouldn't transition completely to a MarTech, let me be that, because we still need that person to look at that strategy of the overall marketing era or that of stuff.
But decisions are being taken using data. So many decisions are being taken.
But he gets to view that, saying how much of his campaigns, how much of the trends and traits of the market, which would help him to take the clear marketing decision. See, what we used to do in earlier days, we never had this much of data available or MarTech available. So it was more about saying, okay, this is going to click because these are the set of audiences. But today, with the kind of data, saying who's taking the IT decisions in the company. Is it the CIO, or is it the VP of infra, or is it somebody else who takes it? And you will also be surprised to see that as the value of the product goes high to low, the people of decisions tree changes.
Exactly.
So the CMO now has a beautiful weapon to understand, saying if the product value is there or the ticket value is this, whom do I need to target? It need not be a traditional CIO. He gets to be more understanding, saying that, okay, with the data information I have, these are the roles which I need to target for this ticket item, small, medium ticket, this is the kind of roles, long tickets, these are the kind. And it also helps you to see which channel actually works for you.
Right.
We always believe in omni-channel, but you will also get to see saying which of the omni-channels have actually helped him to nurture. So that's the reason why I wouldn't say it's a full transition, a partial, but he still needs to wear the hat.
Because the boardroom dynamics will change now.
Yes.
Even when it comes to a CFO's profile, who has to decide on a good accounting or a tabulating software, again, he has to or she has to consult with the CTO or the CIO. So the whole boardroom dynamics is suddenly changing and it's tilting towards the technology head right now.
Yes, absolutely. Because as you rightly said, the CFO might be the person who will sign the check, but he will also consult with the CTO, he will consult with the CIO. To get that solution. Now, as you rightly said, single person becomes a multi-decision maker decision now.
No, because the CIO becomes very important, because the CHRO will also come to him, the CFO is coming, the CMO, everybody is going through, the boardroom dynamics suddenly changing. This is a very interesting phase we are getting into. So coming to this, I just want to talk about what are the barriers right now that you feel that when it comes for organizations from achieving full AI-driven transformations. How do you look at India's case studies, or if you have to compare it to global case studies where the maturity markets are so different, as you rightly said, are the challenges the same or the challenges also start differing?
Okay, let's just take a step back and look at, you have heard the word AI, okay? Now, AI incepted last year, but with fun. Okay. Everything started out with fun, caricatures, then people said this, it will write about you and all. But when the time evolved, people wanted to consider the serious aspect, saying AI for business. Okay. Now, when they're looking at it and now everybody's sitting and evaluating, saying, okay, which part of my business I want the AI transformation to come and hit. So that's not a major impact, because day-to-day operations still get carried on, but they still get to taste the AI transformation and be part of that transformation journey. Which are the segments? So first segment, which is all our favorite segment, when everything goes wrong in the house, first guy you call is the customer care. So they said, rather than having so many humans doing customer, let's get AI, because now AI knows at a given period of time what are the problems you are facing.
It's collecting complaints.
Yes. And now AI can answer that, saying, okay, you have this complaint, do 1, 2, 3. Not working, get it. So they're going to have that there. So everybody is now exploring the bots and the assistants, which is the easiest to go in. Now, once this is done, then comes into the major piece, saying, okay, where do I get AI next into my system? So it's a journey, it will evolve. As I said, IBM started the journey of AI, responsible AI, because now everybody, to be very frank, even our own privacy is managed by the Watson X governance. Before we preach people saying we are good, we want to show them we are using it. We are good at it and our data is done by AI. So
Yeah, talking about responsible AI that you spoke about, how different organizations react to adopting AI differently. But IBM specifically has been very vocal about ethical AI. Is that something that you've intentionally taken up as a position? Because I think you're the only one who is so strongly talking about it from an ethical perspective, and even you created a campaign called Responsible AI. Is that a intentional move to stand out from competition?
it's just not the intentional move of standing out of the competition. So as I rightly said, it's not to show IBM away from competition, all that, but first thing is, we need to understand the customer, because when customers are looking at the evolution of AI, we would always have to tell the customer, say, how AI has to be used ethically, how it has to be responsible, because it's a gift, it's evolving, can be misused,
Yes.
can be used in the proper way. When you use it in the proper way, things flourish, everybody gets benefited and all that. So IBM deliberately wanted to take the stand, saying, okay, with the growth of technology and human demand to use this technology, it's very, very important to ensure how you use it responsibly, how you create a set of guardrails. We need guardrails everywhere.
Yes.
So it's no harm saying, okay, create it. The boundaries change over a period of time. You start conservative, you then expand, So IBM wanted to take a stand on that ethical, and that's the reason why the responsible AI came in, because look at it, we are growing, and today we spoke about it for quite some time. Yes. So we need to create that guardrails on where and till how we need AI, and then expand it. So that's the reason why it's not just to keep ourselves out of competition, but it's to keep ourselves close to the client and help him in that journey of AI.
Correct. So in the IT industry, there's a pattern that there is long sales cycle. There are multiple decision makers involved, like how you're discussing the nuances between a CMO, CFO, and CTO. So how do you measure effectiveness of a campaign, and what innovations have you seen in aligning media strategies in the buyer's journey?
So as you rightly said, there's no common or defined set of measurement metrics, because the reason is, if it's awareness, the measurement metrics are totally different for me. When it consider, the measurement metrics are totally different, and when it comes to end of the journey or at a try stage, my measurement metrics are different. But there are few KPIs which could be the common KPIs between all of these 3 stages of journey. So my question to all my team is, first, let's define the objective. The objective is awareness, then the KPIs are different. By channel, by variations, the KPIs stay, and what are we going to do about it? When it comes into the mid of the factor, where we're talking about consideration, we want awareness then to move into consideration. Okay, which are the channels, what are the spectrums, what are we doing, how do we measure KPI? For an example, for consideration, I would say how many visits are coming in, how many people have come into my landing page and engaged with my landing page. So I talk about engagement rates and all of that stuff. But when I look at the very end of the funnel, I would say, okay, we did share of brand, people know about us, good job, very well done. Then we come to the second stage, okay, people visited us, engaged with us, good job done. Okay, how many of these engaged people now have converted asking, I
The
want
double
a-
clicks come into
Yes.
place.
So it's, as you rightly said, it's more clicking, and coming up to point. I said, okay, each of this have a different KPI. So that's why I tell my team saying they are not defined. We all have a global number to achieve, but these numbers are factored and segmented into these considerations because each of our campaigns are different for different purposes and different goals. So if we get that, the KPIs get then formed at each level.
Coming to KPIs, it's obviously linked to budgets. So as marketing budgets shift to accommodate newer technologies, how does IBM evaluate the ROI when it uses the media mix? Now we put the word budget over here and we are being a little critical in optimizing the allocation. So how do you react to that?
As I always said, the survival of the fittest. It's also always the case even in my channel mix. So each of my channel have a budget fluidity model, and
Okay.
now it is real time. It is really tough for my team to maintain, but we keep it on budget fluidity, saying that okay, we start off with ₹100 investment, just make an example, but we see demand growing there. People are much communicating to another channel which is not. Then we give the freedom the team to say move, shift it on a real time, double it down because people are demanding. And when I say people, it's audience. Even the audience demand, saying I see the demand there. You don't get to make the decision, let the audience make the decision. So what I'm doing is I'm going to go and be present where my audience want me to be present. So that's the reason maintaining my budgets is tougher because it's fluid. It goes across various channels. It goes across various products also sometimes. But who decides it? It's the audience.
Correct.
It's my clients who decide how much I spend where.
So there's no rigidity over there. You bring in that fluidity and flexibility. The other thing I want to touch upon is that there is a lot of tech fatigue, which is becoming a real challenge for decision makers. How does IBM's campaign cut through this noise to deliver high impact communication?
So as I think I touched this with you when I say, just give an example. Let's say learn and deploy AI. Very generic, very out of the thing, and it's simple. But I will rather give a messaging saying that help AI remove your application cluster. Then the client will say, okay, which one would you prefer? Learn and deploy AI, or you have this side.
Speak English.
Yes. So then I would say, okay, boss, let's be practical. Customer wants to understand basic English. Customer wants not to have technical jargon. So how crisp and neat can I put this content upfront? And second, how I impact it is. Because I told you, these digital platforms have evolved so much that the attention to I is very less time.
Exactly.
And if I don't capture his attention in that period of time, I'm gone. I'm out of the race. So that's why we in IBM look at these creatives, and also we have a shelf life. We also define there's a shelf life for each creative. We also go to a level of saying which audiences react to which creative. So at a point of time when you look at a media, it's just not launching the campaign. There's ongoing optimizations where you need to continuously refine the wheel continuously, so that at one point you strike the balance and say, okay, this is what they like and this is what it's working. Keep it going. So then you see continuous results coming out. So that's the thing what we do to remove the fatigue out of the system, because don't think media and marketing is just launch the campaign, done. How well you optimize, how well you season the engine, where do you see flaws, fix it immediately, because then you get the desired results from each of these campaigns.
So sustenance becomes a very strong component basically.
Correct.
It's not about just launch and burst and leave it. You have to keep sustaining
Sustaining it.
I think in our entire conversation we didn't discuss security so much, so I'm going to touch upon that with tightening data privacy regulations, especially with the Indian government also looking at it very strongly, trying to ensure that the servers are hosted in Indian shores. What innovative approaches is IBM taking or adopting to maintain precision while targeting consumers and also keeping data privacy in the front?
I think IBM has been on that from the forefront from the time we have seen marketing in IBM, that the customer data is very secure. And we also ensure that the publishers and the media houses we work to design the campaigns and capture this customer information also follow those regulations of the transfer. So to a point of content, like the transfer of data from their server to our server is also secured, and it has the least number of change of hands. It's a direct end-to-end where from that media house it directly comes into IBM.
Yes.
And IBM then looks at the data, cleanses it and keeps it out under that. And we also have a data retention policy which we have in place where we also respect the client's data coming and sitting in it. How much time are we retaining that data? What do we do with it and how we do with it? All of that is captured, and IBM has been on the forefront of this customer data security from a long time, because from the time I've been in IBM till now, I've seen that rigidness and IBM creating that rules and the spectrum saying how we handle the data of the customer, why is it very important, and how it's stored and all that. Yes, we take cautious and controls in place.
But that will also be part of your media mix. That will also be part of your communication strategy.
Yes, absolutely.
To assure your clients, all the potential clients.
All the potential clients, and also at the same time, each of these media houses also have to own that responsibility with us. Sure. So when we are launching these to the campaigns to the clients, it's not just the client to know that, okay, we have taken it, but the media houses which work with us also co-own this with us and say, yes, we agree, customer information is important. We will ensure that we work together, that this spectrum is secured and fastened so that there's no leaks at any given point of time. Because as you rightly said, it's evolving, but data security is getting demanded more in India, where earlier days people were little careless, but today everybody is cautious saying where is my data is, who's using it and all that, right? So it's very important. It's a two-way journey, but thankfully, we had been on that place from quite before, and a lot of media houses have also started this journey with us.
Compliant.
Yes, to be ensuring they are compliant, they are working with us, and we both ensure that the client who comes with us from these media houses feel their data is secured.
How do you balance the need for short-term measurable results from, say, paid media campaigns? Like you know there's something that's recently launched, you want a quick burst. Then and then how do you then compare it with the long-term building with ensuring customer relationship also takes place? So how do you balance that? Because there are some short-term targets and there are some long-term targets as well. Correct. So how do you manage juggle with that?
See, as I rightly said, right, if there is a burst, for an example, we had to launch a new product last year, same time, and that product was actually talking about the application management. And people used the words MTTR and all of that in that campaign, and people never knew what that campaign was. So we've been facing hardships. Then we said, hey, let's take a step back. Let's evaluate why why is this not working? Then they are saying, okay, market capture has not happened. People don't know about it. We need to launch this now. It has to be a red carpet movement for the.
It's time bound.
Yeah, it's red carpet movement, and we have a shorter time. How do we turn around? So then the whole dynamics change for me, because I need to pick up channels which are high impact.
Yes.
Where people frequently go, but I am not expecting anything from the written from the person. The person has to just get the eyeball. Person has to just say, okay, what is this? Oh, that's Instana. Oh, okay, fine. He knows that. He recognizes that and says, oh, it belongs to IBM. So we needed that recall. So our channels change. And the moment the channels change, the KPIs change for each of them. Our point was, for a campaign burst like this, I look at reach. How many people did I reach in a given period of time? And if I successfully maintain that, now just imagine I now shift this from a burst to a long lasting.
Sustainable campaign.
Yes, then I need to further take 6 months of the campaign, further down 6 months. So the people who now know about the burst now get to experience the what, the why, and the how. So then the journey becomes different, because
the KPIs change then.
The KPIs change and also the channels change. So somebody who is on YouTube for a different purpose and seen this, he wouldn't consume the same content there. He might come. Shift. Yeah. So he might come into search. He might come into my programmatic. Could be the cohort, then go into LinkedIn. Could be on the technical community. So places change, journeys change, the content gets tweaked depending on the platform you are, and we sustain the burst, what we created here, into a longer run. And as you rightly said, awareness was reach. Here my KPIs change because the journey is changed now.
I want to, sum up this whole conversation by trying to understand, in B2B, unlike B2C, where I see an ad on Instagram or I see it on my phone and I purchase it, the consumer journey is pretty short-lived. It immediately burnt. But in B2B, it's more about relationship building. It's more about trust. It's about meeting people in person to person. So how do you use media as a way of opening up those opportunities, open the door so that there is more face-to-face interaction, and you take the personalization aspect to the next level? Is that something you would like to react on?
Yeah, so let me break the myth firstly, saying people want face to face. That's the olden story, because today's entrepreneurs or today's the people who are the key decision makers want the lesser face to face time, and rather they want to make a decision which is easily fulfilled online with a trustworthy partner. So let's say companies like IBM and all of them, we have that trust built with the client. So sometimes when the value of the ticket is medium and not that complicated, and it's a simple solution, they know it's a simple product which is ensuring their needs are met, they love to do it online. And it happens online. Like, just imagine a forecasting solution. They know they need a forecasting tool. It just needs to deploy, and then they buy the user licenses and expand it, work done, no face to face needed and all of that stuff. That's the easiest part. Now, when it comes to the complicated part, because as you see, when the solution gets complicated, the sales cycle also gets complicated, and there needs to be continuous multiple touch points, because media is like introducing the face of IBM or getting the foot into the door of the client with IBM. So we are the face. We are launching a new hero or a actor or actress into the market. Media does the job of getting IBM's foot into the door of the client. The moment that happens, we get to create the multi-touch point campaigns, journeys and all that. At a point of time, we also get the sales guys to be part of these digital journeys. Because with so many multiple touch points and all of that, now we know the behavior patterns of the client. We know the maturity levels of the client and the demands and asks. So rightly, as you said, the boardroom changes now. So it's very important you tap into the right stakeholder, right person to speak. So the sales also comes into the part of the journey at a point of time, like a marathon race, where I hand my baton off to sales and say, hey, now I think it's the right time for you to enter. It's like the special appearance. You need to enter inside now. So when he comes in and he starts saying, okay, I think you have visualized the product, known about the product. What are you really looking for? And you answer those questions. Customer gets in more of the information, and then he says, okay, why didn't you come over for an event? Or why don't you come over for a face-to-face?
That's what I'm
So the journey gets continued. So as I rightly said, earlier days it was a single race. Now marketing has become a marathon race of the journey with the client, saying, I do the first sprint, second sales might do the sprint, next the technical guys might have to go and do the POCs and the POVs for him. So it's a multiple journey.
Because at the end of the day, the double click has to open up into a face-to-face conversation.
Correct.
Depending on the product conversation you want to have. Because at the end of the day, ABM is all about that only. How do I get an appointment, or how do I meet the person so that he or she is okay to have a conversation about their business with me, so that at least I can think of what the solution can be and offer that.
And also you have to become a trusted partner for them at one point of time. The moment you get into that trusted partnership with them, they start opening up, they'll start telling you what you need and all that. And then from there, the partnership really begins.
Before I wrap up this discussion, there's one question that I'd like to ask for our audiences who are probably aspiring marketers, who probably aspire to do B2B marketing. What would you tell them from your learnings, from your experience so far? Any 3 points, 5 points that they should inculcate right away so that their journey is as fruitful as yours?
I have learned this in my journey as a marketer. Is very important is you need to define your goals correct. When you define your marketing goals and you say these are my goals and this is very clear and you have defined it, work your plan towards that then. And then you will face challenges, that's bound to happen. But rather than, I would say, what are the best, before you even face the challenges, I would always say, is it worthwhile or is it something you have a solution for? So find out alternatives for your challenges and you pick up. So when you get the objectives right, when you face your challenges and you have all your solutions, creating a beautiful journey. We all aspire, we all love sometimes that extraordinary experience we get. How can you make your customer's journey extraordinary? If you can think about that and the various ways to make that journey extraordinary, you create a last longing experience on the client, because you are the face of the company where you're going in. So it's always there. The last thing which I always say is, we studied and we said, okay, our time of study is finished. But if you're in the field of marketing, your days of studies are never finished. You keep on studying, you keep on understanding the trends and traits of marketing, keep yourself abreast with the technology changes and all that. And if you can keep on doing that, you will keep on innovating, you will keep on creating that extraordinary journeys and experiences. I think you will then love what you're doing.
Awesome. Achanta Sriram, can't thank you enough. It's been an absolute masterclass, an absolute delight to hear so many interesting experiences that you had at IBM. Thank you so much for joining us.
No, thank you so much, Abhishek. Thank you so much for having me here, and it's really great talking with you.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you.